Hello, and welcome to the Steve and Mark Discuss podcast. Steve will raise an issue or a subject from the media. I do not know what it is. He will say a piece about it, and I will react to it. And then we may discuss it, and who knows, we may even resolve some things. So, over to Steve.
Hi, people. What's been all over the internet this last week or so, and in the news, covering the front pages of the newspapers, has been our podcasting colleague, Russell Brand. Before I go any further, let me explain that I'm not really a fan of his craft, of what he does. To me, he was a loudmouth that used long words instead of using a short word, and many pseudo intellectuals, sort of school age pseudo intellectuals, heard these long words, heard the way he was using them, and that's how he got his following of these sort of fifth and sixth year school students, and some going to university, who thought, he must be really, really smart, when really he's just loud mouthing. That's what I think he was doing. However, it seems that there are a few accusations flying around that have been flying around the newspapers about his past life. There are many people who've gone through this situation. I speak, of course, about Cliff Richards, who was smeared a long time ago by the newspapers. Jim Davidson, comic, when U-Tree was on the go, he was smeared a lot. And even Freddie Starr Ate My Hamster, he was smeared because the newspapers said he ate somebody's hamster live on stage. In the case of Brand, it all came ahead when there was a documentary, if you like. I wouldn't call it a documentary, because a documentary would give you facts and not necessarily just hearsay. But however, they were a hit piece, and also one of the British newspapers. It's important to say that the people accusing Brand of misdeeds didn't go to the newspapers. The newspapers went to them looking for possible victims. I wouldn't even say victims, possible victims. And of course, the repercussion of that is a lot of bad press. Up until now, nothing has gone to the police. We know that one of the complainants, who was 16 years old at the time, the BBC sent round a car to pick her up from school because Brand thought it better than him not going to pick her up from school. What will the neighbours say? Nobody's saying that he's a saint. I'm certainly not. He was a really bad man in the way that he treated women at that time. When he got to the height of his career, he was about 30 years old. His ascension was quite fast, actually. From around about 2000, 1999, 2000, he got to the height of his career in about 2005. And so he had all this money coming in, and like we were talking about earlier, what we're going to do with all this money. How I don't need all this money. And the people that surround a famous person basically tell that person he can do whatever he likes. They can do whatever they like, and there's going to be no repercussion because they're so powerful. And he, with the ego that he has, you just need to have a look at his podcast these days. The ego that he has. Um, I'm sure he really believed that he could do what he wanted. The 16-year-old that we're talking about, with whom we sent the car around, her mother actually took her to his house. And I think it's a good possibility that a lot of these people the complainants, may be people who expected something, but got something else. For example, I bagged a good one here. This one's, this one's here. He's rich. I've got a good one here. And then when he went to move on to somebody else, they got a flea behind their ear. Right. So nothing proven, only accusations where the press find the accusers. The accusers didn't go to the press. YouTube demonetized his YouTube account. I heard yesterday that an MP, a lady MP, Caroline Dinage, she's a dame of the British Empire, an MP. She's the chair of the Culture, Media and Sports Committee in the UK Parliament, sent a letter to Rumble asking Rumble why they aren't demonetizing brands' accounts there like they're doing on YouTube, And this morning I heard, actually, she sent a letter to YouTube asking them why he's still got his podcast on YouTube. They should take his podcast down and all his material. Now, I suspect, because I don't believe that an MP is so stupid as to condemn, until now, an innocent man. We're innocent until proven guilty. Like I said, the police haven't even charged. He's not been charged. He's not even been to court, and he's not been found guilty. So I find it strange that an MP would not only send out a letter to demonetize on one platform, but also to remove his content on another. The information that we get is not always true. The information we get is not always true, especially in the press. We know this, right? And so, internet, you can expect, I'm expecting this woman, this Caroline Dinage, to deny sending the letters because they were all sent electronically. So, it could be sent from. I would only ask that Rumble and YouTube look at the email account from where the message was sent. It was a letter on letter-headed note paper, which is also something that I found really strange, considering the content of what the letter's supposed to show. In conclusion, is that we've got a guy who's been accused of doing naughty things, who hasn't been charged, but he's being condemned by just about everybody, and everybody's trying to pull the rug from below his feet and trying to destroy him for some reason. Some people say it's because he was mouthing off about the drug when I say drug cartels, I mean the pharmaceutical cartels. You know, could be that, could be. You never know. Where you go.
Right. Well, I mean, I'll just say that he comes from a town not too far from where I come from, and he plays on the image of being the Essex boy, which, if you come from Essex, you'll know it. Am I capable of doing what he does? Yes, I am. Yeah, I choose not to. I've grown up a bit. Probably when I was younger, I'd have been, yeah, I'm the man sort of thing. Yeah, it's like in the gangster films you see from the region and everything else. Okay, not suggesting he's that type, really. Um, occasionally I found him mildly amusing, both comedy, and I've seen some impromptu things he's done. Yes, he's the lad, and maybe he's got a way of speaking with the ladies, as it were. We'll leave it like, yeah, and maybe, yeah, they fall for some charm, okay, or fell for some charm. Um, yeah, maybe he believed his own myth a bit, and I think he's admitted that. Okay. Now, I'm not going to go into the cases itself. I've not really read a lot because I'm not into that type of literature. I'll be quite honest. I don't read that type of literature, fictional or otherwise. Um, yeah, the sordid details. Um, Now, you've got to be very, very careful if you are a celebrity, especially today. Now, history's always been, if you've read anything, I've read a lot about Hollywood, I've read a lot about in Victorian times in this country and when certain celebrities were set up by the media, etc.
Wasn't the
Um,
one the guy, the American actor Kevin Spacey?
yeah, Kevin Spacey again. Yeah, I mean that's another issue there. It's a slightly different scenario in some ways. Yeah, I mean these people are famous. They attract attention. Um, when you talk about ego, they're in the wrong job if they don't have an ego. Really, as musicians, anyone that appears on stage has to have an ego. You know what I'm saying with this. You have to believe a bit in yourself and your own self worth and your abilities if you're to go on stage and talk. Um, I mean, what we do in here, we're expressing opinions to, potentially billions of people. Um, we might be a little bit driven by that as well, but that's as may be. Um, I mean, think about this now. It's not so much I'm worried about brand. I would rather there was a proper police investigation. If there's accusations, I don't. It could be good journalism. It could be whatever. It's taken 4 years to get to this, which means there was an investigation for 4 years. Why weren't the police involved sooner? If there are people going, this wasn't a fraud investigation, money being stolen or laundered or anything else like this. This was people's lives. I know it's probably not always easy for people to go to the police over different reasons, for different reasons. Um, it's it is a to me it's very delicate. Yes, I mean I've heard Megan Kelly speak about it. It's probably one of the better people to speak about it. Very balanced in what she said, and also there's a podcast called The Black Belt Barrister. I'll put the links in down below. Very interesting what he had to say. He's had to put out one video and replace it because people have accused him of taking sides. I listened. I didn't hear that. He was just saying, be careful whatever you're hearing or believing. Yeah. I think this raises more a question about, I won't even say society now, how we are all working. And we all know ourselves. We like someone, they can't have possibly done that, or that doesn't seem, okay, I know he's not a great guy, but no way. Um, I think there has to be due process done. The police, for me, the the fact the police haven't been in and stormed in to arrest him with these accusations um, would suggest that either they haven't been given the files or anything yet. To me, there is a accusation, be it historical. Apparently, they've got a section who are responsible for things before looking at it. So I read minutes before we come online. Now I've not gone into detail. You can't help but miss it.
They're having the police apparently remounting a group that
Yeah.
looked into
Yeah.
Jimmy Savile, I think.
Okay. Well, fair enough. Okay, they've got expertise there. Now, I do think it's very, very. I don't care about journalists. They're doing their job. Possibly they're finding things, whether it's in the public interest or not, the wider public interest or not. We can all have a view on. It evidently has brought the Sunday Times interview and also Channel 4.
Yeah,
Who've got to now do an internal investigation, as does the BBC, like you say, about different aspects of this case or of this story. I'm not going to say it's a case; it's not a case yet. Of this. Um, I'll be quite honest. I mean, I can't judge him as a person. He has probably a public persona and a private persona.
yeah, right.
I don't know. I mean, he's a family man now. He's had to, excuse the pun, rebrand himself on more than one occasion. Um, I mean, there are people who have interacted with him. If he'd been accused, like the American actress who sat on his lap or something, if he said, no, there was nothing in it. It was a joke.
Yeah.
So anybody's going to drag up anything they can at the moment. And this is what I'm saying about our society now. We have this ability to do it. We're jumping to judgments.
Yeah,
Um,
I think if anybody who during their life, any man
mm,
during their life said that they haven't disappointed the expectations
mm,
of a woman, that's really, really rare to find that sort of guy. I've travelled a lot
yeah,
in my life, and you meet these women, and you promise them the world, but not because you
yeah,
just say what they want to hear,
yeah. Well,
and then when it's time to move on, it will move on. That's why in the description of this video, there's going to be a link to
mm,
two YouTube videos.
mm,
One is of a singer-songwriter, a Scottish singer-songwriter,
mm,
and in the second verse of the song that's on the video, he says, "I've kissed the ladies, left them crying,
mm.
stolen dreams, yes, there's no denying, and I've carried on with sometimes with conscience flying somewhere with the wind." Basically, what he's admitting that when he was traveling around,
Mm.
you meet these women, and they think one thing, you don't tell them straight away, that they're barking up the wrong tree,
Mm.
and then when you move on, they get disappointed. Some of them feel used, some of them feel, just think you're a bad man.
Well,
And so if you went back and asked them,
mm.
and they'll say, yeah, he's used me. I'll say anything to get back at him.
Yeah. I mean, this is it. I mean, there's a successful American comedy called Two and a Half Men with Charlie Sheen, which that
Yep,
was the whole premise of the show. That women enjoyed watching it as well. Um, and the trouble is, it's now being reinforced with certain things you now see online. Now, I'm not saying these women involved. I don't know. None of us were there. There's only, in
that's
many
right.
cases, there are
People,
two people involved at any one time in this who know exactly what happened, or hopefully know what happened. Um, I mean, I was thinking about, somebody said to me years ago, we're getting to the point now, and this was before the internet, where you're going to have to sign before you do anything at, a contract of where you're going with it. You know,
that's what marriage is.
yeah. Well, okay, yeah. I mean, even marriages can go wrong on that score. But yeah, um, to me, this I really think us as a species. Well, it's really sunk to a new low. What's happened here? Um, there's we call it dirty laundry. Now, I mean, if anyone's been hurt, they've been hurt. It's just pointing out whatever level that might be. I've got, yeah, obviously, my family background, and I have concern, always will have concerns as well. Um, the I just think, yeah, this thing about a government minister getting involved, it's a
That
sickening.
is,
That it's really sickening for me because
yeah,
the police are involved already. To have somebody at government level get involved. I mean, if I was a defence lawyer already, that would give me absolutely everything.
Which is why I'm doubting
Mm.
if these letters that have been sent are actual,
Well,
genuine letters.
it hasn't been denied yet.
Well, because it was last night and this morning,
Well,
so you haven't had time for this. I'm breaking news here.
no. I mean, no, it's a bit longer than that. I mean, I saw it from 4 hours ago on the BBC from a report 4 hours ago, not long before we came on. And I thought, wow. And I've just seen a podcast by an American lawyer guy.
Like I say,
It's gone round.
last night and this morning.
But I mean, it's been on the BBC. Now, the BBC would have presumably checked this before they published something, I would hope.
Well, it's the BBC.